With No Law Firm Left Behind. And with me today, we've got DJ and Vinny. Guys, say hi.
Hey, good
Going
morning,
on?
everyone.
Guys, I'm going to make sure that we're live on LinkedIn. This will be the first time that we've actually went live on LinkedIn and actually knew about it potentially, right? So I think
Last
they
week
threw
was
us
kind of a surprise.
yeah, they threw us for a surprise last week, which was a pleasant surprise that we got approved for LinkedIn Live. But it would have been nice to know. So let's see here. I'm looking for the join event here, guys. Give me a second. I just want to make sure that we're live because you know what? It's important. You know what, guys? Would you hop on your phones and look at LinkedIn Live? Make sure we're live on it for you guys. Online event.
Yes,
We are. Well, that's amazing. Yeah, so it doesn't come up in my feed,
that's okay.
but you see it. So we're good.
It popped up saying you were live. I jumped on and I saw myself. So,
You know what? Sorry about that,
pretty
everyone.
good.
You just have technical problems and you need to work them out. You need to figure them out. But we had a kind of a hiccup just a minute ago where Dave and Vinny couldn't join. So we're on. Here we are. We are No Law Firm Left Behind. And what we're here to do is help law firms stay competitive, right? Keep their staff and attorneys productive and working, and then and efficient as well. Plus, we're trying to help you get more clients to call. And today, what we're going to talk about is Microsoft Teams and how you can actually use it for your law firm, practical uses for your law firm. So we all know that you can chat. We all know that you can do other things, but everybody's looking for that. What else can I do for it? So we're going to hand it over to Vinny and let him lead the topic here. Vinny, we can't hear you, Vinny.
How about now?
We can hear you
Much
now.
better.
All right. So, we've had a lot of discussions about teams in some of the previous shows, and we talked about, all the different functionality of teams and, the advantages of teams. But, one of the important things that we need to highlight is, okay, how does this apply to me? Why is this different from like email or from some other tool that I'm currently using? And that's really what we want to talk about today. Teams in itself has, basic functionality. If you're just going to use Teams, you're going to have the capability to do things like chats and video calls and build team functionality in there, right? And some of the basic things, if you're not using Teams today, and you want to get started in using Teams, I say the first thing you need to start with is, okay, so we're all working remotely, or most of us are working remotely, right? And we still need to collaborate with our teams. We still need to communicate with our teams. And if you have the right tools, I've seen people say that actually their communication with their team has gotten better.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because they have the tools to do that. And Teams is one of those tools. When I first started working remotely, if we did not have Teams, we would have been very fragmented as a team. But because we had the ability to send a message, right, a quick message via chat to one of our teammates if we had a question. And, instead of sending an email and waiting for a response and potentially creating a long email train, right? Yeah, what you can do is you start a chat with one of your colleagues or one of your coworkers, and they can answer again when they can. It's not always. We get this idea of instant message, right, from the old days, but really it's a chat, right? You send a message instantly, but it's not always an instant response. The person can get to it when they need to or when they can. And you can have a conversation on something using chat. And if you're going to start somewhere, I would say that is where you want to start. You're working remotely. You need to communicate with your teammates, and you can start a chat that way. Sometimes, at SpliceNet, we need to just have a conversation rather than go back and forth and chat and wait for a response. We want to have a conversation, and so we start a video call. And you can do that from the chat windows as well. We've showed all this functionality, by the way, in some of our previous videos if you want to go back and look. So we do video calls internally, sometimes on the fly, sometimes we schedule them so that we can just have a phone conversation on something. We
Quick
can
huddle,
pick up.
quick huddles. We do morning huddle.
Yep, we do our morning huddle, and some of us in the mornings are remote, and some of us are in the office. Depends on which day, right? But we are able to have our morning review together through Teams, and that's something that's scheduled. But we also do a lot of impromptus as well.
We just had one just about 7 minutes ago.
Yeah, and just to, that's a way to, as we get more used to working remotely, as we're all in different places, that's one of the functionalities of Teams that you can start using right away. And by the way, if you have Microsoft 365, you have Teams, right?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
Teams is included in your licenses. And so you may need to turn it on. You may need to get it deployed to your users, but you have Teams. You own it, and you should start taking advantage.
Vinny, people that don't have Microsoft Teams can get it for free from Microsoft.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's free.
So if you don't have Microsoft 365, you can still use Teams. It is free to use, and right now there's no end date to that.
Yeah, it's called the Teams Exploratory is what it's called, the Teams Exploratory Plan. And so it's very easy to get, actually. If you go to teams.microsoft.com, I think is where you can sign up for it. Mm-hmm. So, one of the things, Vinny, that comes to mind for me with Microsoft Teams, and we talked about it. I'm getting our tech support people chatting over here, kind of confusing me. But if you think about it, and we talked about this offline, Teams really doesn't do much on its own. One of the things that we talked about is it's really more of a cockpit or Lego system in a sense. And Dave, I think you might have coined that really. Think about it for a second. The core functionality of Teams is chatting, through instant messaging or whatever you want to call it, whether that's within a team or whether it's within a group of people or individually, and meetings, right? Those are the core functionalities that Teams actually possesses. Everything else, for the most part, and I might be missing something, comes from some other aspect of Microsoft 365 or plugins for third-party applications.
Well, and that's the thing. Where so much of the strength of Teams really gets built out is the fact that you've got all these other tools that can be brought into one place. It makes Teams into a phenomenal workspace to integrate all these things together. So you can do everything from one place.
Yep. And some of the other native functionality, you mentioned chat. There are teams that you can create within Teams, which is another way to format your chats, right? And secure them and bring chats into groups automatically, right? And you can use that team functionality to create based on your matters. So you have a team that's working on a specific matter.
I can bring that up, Benny, so you can just kind of highlight it. Go ahead.
You have a team that's working on a specific matter, right? And you can create the team itself. In this example, Jim has the team and then has different matters in there, or you can create a team that's just dedicated to that matter because it may be a bigger case and there may be different stages or different phases that you'll be working on there, and you can create different channels to organize your conversations and as Dave's going to talk about later, some of the other features that you can organize within those channels themselves. And so,
and Vinny, one of the points that I think bears, and you said it, but I just kind of want to reemphasize it for a second, is you have a lot of flexibility in how you want to structure this because you've got several different levels. You've got a team level. That could be a team of people, or it could be a team on a case, or it could
I'm going to actually highlight it there so everyone sees it. This is the team.
Yep.
And then once you expand down from that, you can have individual channels within a team. And we've talked about all this before, but we're talking today about how do we practically organize.
Very specific, practical. Dave, the goal here, Vinny, we all know, we want people to walk away, whether you're in a large firm or whether you're in a one-person firm. We want a practical, oh, I can do that. So that's what we're looking for, Dave. Go for it.
I mean, for example, I have my own solo practice. And for me, I run both. I run sometimes where I'll have a team dedicated to a specific matter. And then sometimes I just have a single team that's internal with individual channels for each matter. Okay. And I use those for different purposes based on the level of collaboration that I need with the client. How much access do I want to give the client to what I'm keeping in teams? So if I've got something that I'm working on with a client, I'll usually have that as a separate team and invite them to that team. Does that make sense, sort of how I use it? And I'm just by myself, so I've got different use cases.
Yep. And so straight out of the box, you can start using Teams for those basic functionalities. Again, that's video calls, that's chats, again, meetings that you can schedule with clients. With these teams here, you can add clients to that. You can add them to specific channels if you don't want them to have access to all the different channels. All of that is native out of the box, right? And this, in some cases, there's things that you have to configure on the Microsoft 365 side. The admin has to configure it so that you have those capabilities. But all that is straight out of the box. Even file sharing is straight out of the box.
Oh, we lost him. Ha!
Oh, no.
He'll come back in. If you see him pop in, let me know. Dave, what I wanted to point out is building a structure using a team and a channel. It there he is right there. Vinny, thanks for coming back. The thing about I was saying, Vinny, is that the concept of building teams, okay, and whether that team is for one case and you have the parts of the case segregated out into the channels below it, or building a practice area, and this is this particular practice area, and here are the cases in this practice area. Really, honestly, the structure really doesn't do anybody any good.
Yeah.
Yet. Right?
Until you have some of the more added features that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But really, in this particular case, once you start adding functionality to these teams, which is what we're going to be talking about in just a couple minutes, that's where the real advantage comes in.
Yes.
But for basic collaboration, Teams is ready out of the box to be able to do that.
Yeah. For example, if I want. Here's the basic functionality, okay? And I'm going to use this because it wasn't cluttered up with a bunch of demo stuff. But client matter B, right? Whatever case that is, if I wanted to have a conversation with somebody specifically on it and organize all those conversations instead of using email, I'd come in here, someone give me case status, right? And then, I don't know if you guys are set up to respond to that. But now we have
a question that I'd like you to address.
What's that? Go ahead.
So Doc Pratt just sent a message in from LinkedIn saying, what's the process for initiating a meeting with a client that does not currently have Teams?
Yeah, so that's actually, we covered that, Doc, and I'm happy to go into it real fast. All you really have to do is, and I can't show you this because we're not in our demo database. I'd show you a lot of confidential client stuff. But you would come into the calendar in your Teams, and there would be a meeting button, a new meeting button up here at the top, okay? You click that and send them an invitation, and then they would get that invitation. They'd have a join Teams meeting link in it. So they don't have to sign in. They don't have to have Teams.
Yeah, the great thing is that they don't even need to have the Teams app. They can run it straight through a web browser.
Right from the web browser.
So if you just know their email address, they don't need anything else. Email address is all you need, and it'll get to them, and they can join right from that.
And now, that's what I was going to say. I'm sorry, Jim. That's what I was going to say is you don't even have to do it from Teams. If you're a calendar person from Outlook, you just send them the calendar invite with the Teams link, right? And they can join from there. Or if they prefer to calling, they can also call in if you have that feature turned on for yourself.
If you have the phone number feature, yes.
Doc, what I'll do is I'll take a link to the video that we did on just how to set up meetings, and I'll link it in the comments when we're done today. How's that for you? Let us know that we answered your question there, okay? So thanks for pointing that out, Dave. I didn't catch that. But out of the box, I mean, it's great. It's great for having these conversations, right? But now, Vinny, let's take it a step further.
Yep.
Okay. Go. You want to talk about files and such?
Yeah. So you can use the files feature to organize by your team's channels. So if there's particular files associated, and all these files are stored in the cloud, and if you're using some type of file backup, they are also you know you can also have disaster recovery on them, but you can organize your file based on whatever structure you decide to do your teams. So if your team is based on the matter itself, or if it's based on a practice area, your files will be organized and such. And inside the files, you can create folders as well, or you can save directly in there. And you can actually even two people can be working on the file at the same time as well. And be making changes, and it has the built-in functionality to be able to collaborate on those files and share them easily.
I'm just setting up a document here so that everyone can kind of see it here. Mm-hmm. The collaboration is something that is most people don't understand. Now, since this document is in Teams, and it's stored in SharePoint. Now, two or more people can actually function on this document at the same time and edit it. So I'm just putting text in here. And then if Dave or Vinny wanted to open it up, and I'm not suggesting you do, guys, but they would actually be able to edit this document at the same time, working on different parts of the document. And then we can continue conversations on the document. Hey, I see, see you're working on this. How's this work, right? So we could be in different locations, work from home on steroids, right? And collaborating on the same document at the same time. If you don't want to work with it in Teams, just click the button and it opens up on your desktop Word.
Yep. And some of the advanced things that you can do with Teams is that it has the capability to integrate into different applications. And Dave, one of your favorite applications that you use on the Microsoft Suite is OneNote.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit how you integrate Teams with OneNote.
Yeah, so let's start with just literally like a 15-second recap of what OneNote is. OneNote is the digital notebook that is built out by Microsoft. In the default OneNote, you've got individual notebooks. Within notebooks, you have sections. Within sections, you have pages. On pages, you can have everything from voice recordings to text notes to clippings from websites. If you find a website that you want, you can clip it right to a page and it'll save it so that you can go back and reference it later without having to deal with bookmarks and all that good stuff. This is not a OneNote session today, but I just wanted to reiterate what it is for keeping track of different notes when you're having a phone call with a client or whatnot. So how do we organize those and how do they fit within Microsoft Teams? So let's go ahead and let's start at the team level. And let's point out that under the team level, we've got different channels. Now, depending on your use case, each channel can have its own notebook and the team itself can have its own notebook. So let's go ahead and let's start by going up to the demo team, Jim. And I want you to go ahead.
Let me manage the channel?
No.
Manage team?
No. I want you to just drop down. Yep. Under here, we've got four channels.
General.
3 of them. One is hidden. We've got general, client matter A, B, C. Let's go to the general channel. And I went ahead and I just set this all up, but you've got plenty of flexibility in how you do this. So this demo team notebook is the default notebook. Anytime you create a new team, it creates a default notebook for that team. Okay?
And it's under a tab, which is nice.
I had to add that. But
oh, you added that? Okay. So
you have to add the tab, but when you create the team, so when I created demo team, it automatically created a demo team notebook in OneNote.
Yeah.
All right?
I'm going to show that file, actually. I think the file's right here, if I'm not mistaken, right, Dave?
No.
You're right. It's at the team level. You're right.
Yep.
Understood. Yeah.
So go ahead and go back to the demo team notebook. This is automatically created, and I went ahead and just added a tab that goes to the master team. Go ahead and expand out our sections on the left-hand side. Now you'll notice here that I've got client matter A, client matter B, client matter C as different sections in one notebook. I manually created those sections, and I'm not going to go through all the mechanics of how we did that. I'm happy to explain it to anyone that would like to know those mechanics. But the point is that we can organize individual channels one of two ways. We could take a channel and give it its own section within the master team notebook, which is what we're looking at right here. So in the general tab, we've got a link to the main notebook. Each notebook has a different section for each client. I want you to go ahead and go to Client Matter A for me.
On the tab or the channel?
No, the channel for Client Matter A. And then I want you to go to the tab for Client Matter A plan, or I'm sorry, Client Matter A, I apologize.
Okay.
And expand our sections out on the left. As soon as it comes up.
It's the first time we set this up, so it's the first time.
Now, you'll notice this should look very similar. Notice that it's pulling the demo team notebook at the top, and it's got Client Matter A section selected. Go to our Client Matter B channel.
And of course, notebook, I would assume, right?
So this is still the demo team notebook, and it automatically defaults and links to the Client Matter B section within the master notebook. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yep.
What we're doing here is we've created one notebook at the team level, and we've linked individual channels to individual sections within that team level notebook.
Yep.
Now, the benefit of doing it that way is that you can take that one notebook and you can bounce around within it. People can see each other's stuff. So if you're in Client Matter B and you go to notebook, you can go look at stuff in Client Matter A. Maybe you want that. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want a notebook that is specifically restricted only to people that are part of that channel.
Yep.
Well, you can do that too. Let's go back to Client Matter A. And let's click on the standalone notebook tab. And expand out our sections here.
Sure.
The big difference that you'll notice here is that now the notebook level is Client Matter A. This is a standalone notebook different from the demo team notebook. Mm-hmm. Meaning that if we wanted to have a notebook just for Client Matter A, we could have that isolated, standing on its own, and only the people that would have access to the Client Matter A channel would have access to the Client Matter A notebook.
That's right.
By going here, they cannot get the Client Matter B or C or whatever might be out there. So the important thing here, the thing that I want people to take away from this is that OneNote, while being a digital notebook, can be integrated at a team level. It can be integrated at a channel level, and that we would choose one over the other based on what kind of access we want to, to the overall notebook.
Yeah.
Yep.
Most times you'll have some sort of hybrid between the two.
And just to bring it back to the topic of today is the whole point of showing you this is so that you can see that the Teams application is much more powerful than just chat, right? Mm-hmm. You can start integrating your applications or many of your applications into the Teams application so that you have one.
Oh, we lost him again. Let me pick up what he's saying. The
idea is that you can implement your applications, your other applications, into Teams, so it can be that Lego building block set.
There he is.
And then you work with it either in Teams, Vinny. I'm going to say this because you cut off there, but I'm going to take time. And then you could also those notebooks that you created are then accessible either through Teams on your phone or other devices, or even on the web, in either Teams or in the native application like OneNote on your phone. Well, so you don't have to go to Teams to work with them every time.
And this is the thing that I like about Teams, that I think is so strong about Teams. I've been using OneNote for years and years and years, okay? And I have a ton of stuff in OneNote. But collaboration within OneNote, while it's always been there and you can always share notebooks with people, it was a very manual and tedious process to get the right people access to whatever notebook you wanted and to keep that up to date. Now you expand that across, Jim, I know you're going to talk about Planner for a few minutes here. Mm-hmm. If we had to keep track of within OneNote who has access to this OneNote notebook, And then over here in Planner, we had to keep track of who was in this Planner team. And then over here within To Do, we have who has access to. We have all these different applications. Instead of managing it all individually, we take Teams and it creates that organizational structure, and we just plug in that specific OneNote notebook, that specific Planner plan. And that becomes our organizational structure, which makes it actually manageable instead of being frustrating.
And it makes it easy to collaborate.
Yep. Yeah. My parallel is to this, Dave. What would you, we would normally probably never think of it this way, but because Outlook is such a powerful platform, right? Powerful application. We think of our email, our calendars, and our contacts, and some think of our tasks and a few other things actually in Outlook. And everybody wants everything to integrate with Outlook, right? Mm-hmm. That's always been like, hey, when's it going to integrate with Outlook? When's it going to integrate with Outlook? Now it's when's it going to integrate with Teams?
Right.
So, instead of just those tied to those 3 or 4 things in a program, now Teams has the ability, it actually is a Swiss Army knife that you could add your own blades to, right? Like, for example, the Clio. Do you want to talk about the Clio real fast, Dave?
Well, there are plenty of plugins to third-party apps. And so 2 of the ones that we see most frequently used within the legal field is Clio, which just released, they have their own plugin for Microsoft Teams, so you can access your Clio matters without ever having to leave Teams, which is just stupid levels of awesome. And then we've also got Net Documents, which allows you, if you've got your documents being stored in Net Documents, you can access all those without having to leave Microsoft Teams. So now what you're doing is you're taking all these Microsoft products, but now we're taking all these third-party products and we're integrating it. So you've got this one workspace. It almost takes the place of your desktop as being the place that you work from all day long.
I'd like to hop over out of organizing things in a note type of mentality, right, Dave? I'd like to move into more of a task-based type of system. And everybody's like, well, I got all these to-dos and I add them to my to-do list or so on and so forth. I get Microsoft To Do or I get lists or tasks in Outlook or a third-party application. And the problem is that unless you're living in those applications all the time, then it forces you to go to different programs to do different things, right? Your tasks are over here, your emails over here, you're chatting with your group over here, your notebooks are over here also in Teams, your documents might be over in Teams. So Teams has the integration with Microsoft 365, and as I said before, almost all of Microsoft 365 is now pluggable into Teams. And so what they give you the ability to do is now modify this navigation bar over here on the left-hand side. And so you could click on it and you say, I want to add an app of some kind and come over and grab the app. Well, I've taken the time to do a web live stream on bookings. And if you want to know how to type bookings in, you can do that. But I'm going to talk about Planner because I added it in over here. And so what you can see here is that there are some plans, and some of these are my plans. But I went so far as to add a plan specifically for a matter. And so this is Client Matter A plan. And it's customizable. You define what you want these. They're called buckets, right? You define what these buckets, and pleadings and something else, right? So you can define. And then what you do is you add a task. This is really management of the project of a case, right? And so these can be set up in advance before anything happens. You can add these as you go. You can create templates of these so that they can be reused over and over again, specifically for your case types. Or we can just kind of go as we want to. And so this one, I added this file a complaint for Dave, right? Maybe I want to add Vinny to it as well. So now Vinny's on it. And that goes to their Outlook tasks, or also to the Microsoft To-Dos and lists per application. Mm-hmm. And so as they're working on it, they can add attachments to it. Maybe it is that pleading, right?
And because I also have Planner integrated into my Teams, I just got a notification on my Teams saying, hey, this task has been assigned to you. And it'll stay in my activity, and that way I can track it and get access to it right away.
We should do a whole session on Planner, But there's a whole lot. And then you can say, got it, make a comment. I'll get it done and on that task, right?
Yep.
And then you can set your due date and your deadline on it. Heck, if it's a checklist, you can build a checklist. You know, you can build a checklist. Show on card is kind of nice because hold on, do a send here. Because it'll show it on the card what has to be done still.
Yep.
And then the individuals, and this really isn't a team, this really isn't a planner lesson, but everybody that's associated with this client matter can come in here at a moment's notice and see what's been done, what needs to be done, what's coming up. And we can look at it and say, okay, who's it assigned to? What's the progress on it? Well, none of it started. Well, we better start that, right, Vinny? So we're going to say this has been started. It's in progress. And so there it is. Now it's open over there. And it's in your Teams. By the way, they have an app for your phone for Planner. So even if you aren't working in Teams, you can get all of your tasks, if you will, and deadlines and so on and so forth through your mobile app. The only thing that you don't have is a desktop app. They have a web app, they have it in Teams, and they got a mobile app, but there's not an actual desktop app, and we're begging for that one. So
yeah. So, just to wrap things up again, we talked about a couple of different applications. We talked about a couple of different functionalities within Teams. The whole point of this is, how do you use this? Why would you use Teams, right? And to me, it's a single pane of glass for your collaboration, whether it's for note taking, file management, task management, conversations, calls, all these different types of things that you can do that we have different applications for, right? But you can tie them all together now under one tool where you can see them all and they're integrated, and it makes it so much easier, especially today where we're working remotely so much.
Yeah. Me and Dave and Vinny are in 3 different places right now, and you saw how the changes we made, the others saw instantly.
Right.
Yep.
I still think the native, I of all the things, Dave and Vinny, the things I find the best is the ability to actually have conversations that are specific to a case right here. We're not losing it in email. Yeah, a client might. By the way, what's this right here, guys? Get the channel email. Get email address for this channel, and it'll actually put it in the post as well. So a way to forward an email to keep it organized. With
if you get something by email, you can actually send it into the channel.
Yep.
You track it in there.
And so I hate to say it. I love Planner, Dave. I love OneNote. I love bookings, but I still think just the ability to keep conversations very specific on a place. Didn't I ask you that question? And we can scroll through and find out the history of it. That's powerful for us.
And in previous shows, we talked about the search functionality, how to create channels, how to create teams. We talked about all that different functionality, how to do meetings, calendar, all that. If you go back to our previous shows, you'll find a lot of information more in depth about that. But definitely, this is a tool that we think can help. One of the pillars of no law firm left behind is keeping your law firm productive. And this too absolutely meets that objective of helping to keep your law firm productive, even when you're working apart.
Right. Yeah. So you know what? The last thing I'm going to say is I'm going to cover your face here, Vinny. We always enjoy doing these videos, and we post them on our No Law Firm Left Behind group. So anybody that's a part of the No Law Firm Left Behind group, when there's no membership, it's a LinkedIn group, can go through that group, see all of these videos, and ask questions of us in the No Law Firm Left Behind community. So if you're not a member, I wish I had a prettier link for you. Unfortunately, guys, I'm going to have to come up with some kind of bit.ly or something like that for this. But if you're not a member of the No Law Firm Left Behind group, go out and join it today. That's the one thing that we ask. We promote our web streams, our live streams there. Many times we'll have somebody trying to grow a firm and they've done some great thing, or we'll have a technology thing or a security thing. But if you walk away with nothing else, go join the group, because that's the key to getting more information.
Yep. And if you don't want to write down the link, just search for No Law Firm Left Behind on LinkedIn and it'll come up. Or we can put the link in the comment section of this video.
It's good.
Yeah, I'll do that too. And I hashtag it all over the place without spaces, so no loafer left behind. All right, guys, great show. I really appreciate the topic. I think it was a valuable topic.
Definitely.
All right, take care, everyone.
All right,
See you
take
next
care.
week.
Thank you.
Bye now.